Welcome to my channel. Today we are doing a big deep cleaning in the kitchen. And this is what my before looks like as I'm cooking breakfast. I spent the weekend doing a deep cleaning in the cupboards, and so today is going to be a big cleanup day for the whole kitchen. The first step is to remove absolutely everything from the surfaces, from the walls, and just get it out so that we can get to everything that we need to clean. We're deep in the winter. It's almost the end of January, and this is the perfect time to do this kind of work because once spring is on the way, my husband and I are going to be extremely busy getting our farm up and running. But right now I have a lot of extra spare time to do this kind of work, and nothing feels better than starting in a fresh space, and I can't wait. I decided to take the curtains down because these windows need a really good cleaning. And I could not believe the amount of added light that this brought into our room. So what I'm going to do is just tuck these curtains away in storage for a couple of months because I really do love them, but that added light just feels so necessary right now. And I don't want to get rid of them, so they're going into storage. Now here's a look at all of the things that I took out of the kitchen, and it's just going to stay here while I do my deep cleaning. It really is kind of shocking to see a space with nothing in it. It gives you that just moved in feel, and I just love it. So I'm going to get started with this, and the first thing that I'm going to do is pull out the fridge and the stove because you guys, I have not cleaned behind here in probably a year, and that's a very long time, and I was really scared of what was going to be behind here, and I knew it was going to be the worst space to clean in the entire house, to be honest. So it wasn't quite as bad as I thought it would be, but it was still bad. And I just thought to get started with this first because then the biggest task is out of the way. And of course, I found some silverware back there. It's not surprising. Now, this space, it's really embarrassing that it's gotten to the point of being this dirty. But life just gets in the way, and often these things take a back seat. And so that's what's happened, but I'm dealing with it now, and I do hope to do better with getting to it more often because it's not that hard to pull everything out. It's just that I don't often think about it. After sweeping, I'm getting in here with the vacuum and just sucking up all the dust. I love to go into the Internet archives and look up old housekeeping manuals, and they all recommend a top-down approach, starting with the very top of the ceiling and then working your way down. And so I've been using this method, and I really do feel like it works because you're not going over top of the same areas again and again. Another thing that I learned from these housekeeping books is that they used ammonia in a lot of instances. And ammonia is something I always saw in the grocery store, but I never tried and I didn't really know what it was used for. But since I've been using it, it is a very effective cleaner and it's so inexpensive. So I've been using it and it just melts away the dirt and the grease and everything. So I really recommend using it, and you don't need to use very much. It's actually very strong. So I just use a little bit of that with some dish soap and get my rags out, and it works wonders. And throughout this cleaning, I did empty my water quite a few times and put fresh in and used a few different rags. So if you're wondering, I didn't just use the same dirty water on everything. I just didn't show that in the clips. So I'm done cleaning back here now, and I'm tucking the fridge back in. And now I have to clean the other pieces that fit in here. There's this little cupboard that just fits in between the stove and fridge. And what's interesting is that our landlord's parents built this house back in the 50s. And there is so much beautiful woodwork in this house. The wood that they used has such a beautiful design on it, and I find it really beautiful. And I know it's a little old-fashioned, but I appreciate it, and I honestly love living in this house. Now, I'm so sorry that you have to see this. It's very gross, but that's the side of my stove that is kind of hidden and tucked in, and so it was pretty bad. It was in need of a desperate clean. And the day before, I actually put the oven on a self-cleaning mode, which is about 3 hours. And it turns everything in the oven to ash. And so all I have to do is go in there and wipe it down, and the whole thing is perfectly clean. And that feels really nice compared to buying all of those toxic sprays that I dealt with for years. So I'm really happy to have that option. And the oven is going to be like brand new and good to go. And now the oven is done, and all behind there is done, and top to bottom that area is clean. Now I'm moving on. I didn't remove this chalkboard from the wall because it's hard to get off and on. So I just wiped it down, and that's where I write down appointments or groceries that I need. And again, I'm going from the top down, and I'm going to wipe down all of these cupboards, and they do get sort of greasy fingerprints, and there's certain spots that you have to rub harder. And it just feels good to clean everything. I really hope that this is helpful for you guys. I know this time of year, a lot of people are thinking about spring cleaning, and it's a great time to do it. So I hope that this is motivating for you. Moving on to this side, we have single pane windows in this kitchen, and there are plenty of single pane windows in this house. Some of them have been replaced with double windows, but the single pane windows are actually very different, and they freeze up with these enormous patterns of ice on them when we get minus temperatures, and they actually often have a lot of perspiration on them. And they're just very different. They're hard to keep clean this time of year because they're never dry. They're always wet. And so those need to be cleaned really well, and they also attract bugs. Any bugs that are in your home like to be in the windows. So I often have to clean dead bugs or get rid of live bugs. So that's quite the job. And that's why I took those curtains down. And it required a little extra work than what I showed on camera. I actually used a chopstick, which is another technique that I learned in these old housekeeping books, to get deep into the cracks. I just put the chopstick inside of the cloth, and then you can get into all of those deep grooves and spaces that are hard to reach, and it really helps you get every bit of dirt out of those cracks. One of the things that we really loved when we first moved into this home was this little eating nook in this kitchen. It's just so sweet, and it reminds me of a little cafe. And we just love it. We ate our first meal in this house at this table, and it's just a nice little spot, but it can also attract clutter. And so I really try my best to keep it clutter free because it's not very inviting when there is clutter there. One of the things that I love about this kitchen is the amount of cupboard space, because there is a lot of cupboard space and the drawers are deep and they hold a lot. But one of the downsides is that I don't have a ton of counter space, and there's not a lot of room to put appliances or things like that. So it can often look cluttered, and I'm really working on downsizing the amount of items I have in this kitchen. Now, another thing with this older home is that these counters are made of some material that kind of stains. It's almost like it's porous. And so what I've found is that using Barkeeper's Friend on it really helps to remove the stains. They don't come off with just regular dish soap. And I'm really glad that I found a product that works to get those stains out. Moving on to cleaning my garbage can. I did this on camera and it was really embarrassing, but honestly, what I've been doing is ripping up old flannel sheets that I have and turning them into rags. And that way, when I clean something that seems really gross, I can just throw the rag out, and it just removed some type of mental block for me to cleaning these gross areas. So having rags around is super important. Now that we're done the top to bottom of all of the walls and cupboards, now I'm down to the floors, which is the last area, and I'm getting on my hands and knees to scrub this floor because I need to get a new mop and I just haven't gotten one yet. So I'm going down on my hands and knees, but I find it easier to get into those hard to reach areas. So here we have a final clean space. Like I said, I went through my cupboards on the weekend, and so that job was done, and now the exterior is fully done, and this feels so good. You don't always have to spend money to feel like you got a new space. A lot of times, it just takes some elbow grease. And here are all the items that I either need to put back in their place or get rid of. Here's a look at before. This was the morning, and this was chaotic. And I'm really glad that it doesn't look like this anymore. But this was my starting point. And here is my after. And it just feels so much more fresh and clean. And I still have all of the things that I love, but I actually took a huge load of items to the thrift store, and it just feels good to have less clutter, and I still have all of the things that I need. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you in next week's video.